What's up guys, JT Postman here, and we are back with another episode of our Let's Talk NHL series, and in this video, I'm going to be going over my predictions for the 2016 NHL Stanley Cup Playoffs, the first round. So basically I'm just going to go through each and every series, pick who I think is going to win the series, and in how many games. Now, I'm not going to go past the first round. I'm going to pick who I think is going to win in the first round, and then I'm not going to say, for the Dallas, Minnesota, and St. Louis, Chicago series, I'm not going to pick a winner of each of those two series and then say which one of those two teams is going to go to the conference final. I'm only predicting the first round. I will do an individual video for each round of the playoffs, explaining who I think will win. But this video is just the first round. So, first up, we're just going to go left to right, west to east. So, first up, the Dallas Stars and the Minnesota Wild. The new Stars against the old Stars. The Minnesota against Dallas. Now, I have the Dallas Stars winning in 6 games. Now, the reason for that, it's very close, but I just think defensively the Stars are better just with John Klingberg, Johnny Oduya, who they added, Chris Russell, another player they added. And I just like the offense of the Dallas Stars. I think this is finally the year where they break out. I have the tendency to look at teams in the playoffs and say, oh, well, they don't have experience in the playoffs, so the more experienced team is going to win. But, you can only become experienced by winning in the playoffs. And I think Dallas, after losing in the first round 2 years ago, missing last year, I think this is the year they finally break out. And I just don't think Minnesota's going to be able to stop them. Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin, they added Patrick Sharp, 3-time Stanley Cup champion, Jason Spezza as well. He wants to win a cup after losing back in 2007 with Ottawa. I just think they're going to be too much to handle. Minnesota, they've been struggling recently, and they were the last team in the West to get in. Obviously, the Stars clinched the Western Conference. I just think the Stars are the much better team, and I think they'll take it in 6 games. Now, up next, the Chicago Blackhawks and the St. Louis Blues. And sorry, St. Louis fans, I have the Blackhawks winning in 7 games. As usual, these teams seem to always face each other in the playoffs, and it's always exciting, but the Blackhawks, I think they got them again. I mean, every single year, these two teams face not every single year, but most years these teams face each other, and the Blackhawks have won every single time. So, I don't see a reason to pick St. Louis this time around. I mean, their goaltending, Brian Elliott, I believe, is going to be the goaltender. He's a good goaltender. He's not bad, but he's not that Henrik Lundqvist. He's not that Jonathan Quick or Corey Crawford. He can't save the series for them. I think the Blues are an amazing team, offensively, defensively. I mean, they've got everything. I don't know what it is, but the Blackhawks just seem to have their number. Patrick Kane's having a career season. Jonathan Toews, how he turns it on in the playoffs. The one wild card, though, for the Blackhawks is how will Artemi Panarin play? The rookie, the young, skilled guy. How is he going to play, under pressure in a playoff situation? That'll be interesting. He's been able to dominate in the regular season, but it all changes when it goes to the playoffs, and so we'll see how he does. But, how can you count out the Blackhawks? How can you say, after what they did last year and what they've done the last 6 years, that the Blackhawks are going to be kicked out in the first round? I just don't see it happening. But I do see it going 7 games. Now, up next, the Anaheim Ducks and the Nashville Predators. Now, this is my wild card round. I have the Predators beating the Ducks in 7 games. Now, I think everyone else seems to be picking the Ducks, but I'm going with the Predators because I love the Predators team. You look at them on paper, I think this has to be the year. If the Predators are going to go far in the playoffs, that they're going to win the Stanley Cup, this has got to be it. I mean, I look at their defense. Shea Weber, Roman Josi, Matthias Ekholm, Ryan Ellis. I mean, they just have an amazing defense, and then in the net, Pekka Rinne. You look up front, they finally have that first-line center in Ryan Johansson. Philip Forsberg is having an unbelievable season. Guys like James Neal, Mike Fisher, veterans like that. They've got their team, and if this isn't the year, I don't know, man. I just look at the Ducks' defense, and I don't like it. I mean, the Ducks, they don't have the depth that they had last year. You know, Francois Beauchemin was great last year for the Ducks in the playoffs. Matt Bolesky, you know, he was scoring overtime winners. Kyle Palmieri, you know, you see him scoring 30 goals this year. Obviously, they miss him. You know, they don't have those depth guys like they had last year. You know, they're obviously not struggling. They went on a tear at the end of the season, and they ended up winning their division. But and you know, I know they're a very experienced playoff team. You know, you got Perry, you got Getzlaff, and obviously goaltending. I mean, whether you go with Frederick Anderson or John Gibson, those are two great goaltenders. But I gotta go with the Nashville Predators. I'm hoping. I can't. I'm not gonna lie. I hope the Nashville Predators win this. I want to see a completely different set of teams. You know, in the Final Four and in the Western Conference Final. So, you know, I'm obviously hoping for these other teams to win, but, you know, we'll see. This is, it's crazy because there aren't even any Canadian teams in the playoffs this year, but I believe this is the most competitive playoff bracket in the NHL in I don't know how long, but it is such a competitive bracket. Like, every single series you can go either way. It's crazy. And normally you can always there's there are just a few series where you can pick the obvious winner, but in this year there really are no obvious winners. It's pretty close. But up next, the LA Kings and the San Jose Sharks, and I laughed when I saw this one. This is crazy. The two California teams going up against each other for the second time in 3 years. The Sharks, their first time back in the playoffs since 2014, is a rematch against the Kings. For those of you that don't know, back in 2014, the San Jose Sharks were up 3-0 against the LA Kings, and the Kings won 4 straight and won the series in 7, and then went on to win the Stanley Cup. So the Sharks, they want their revenge, but I got to give it to the LA Kings. I mean, the Sharks, any of these series, these are just predicted. I was hesitant to even make a predictions video because it can go any way. This is just me. You know, anything can happen. Injuries can happen. Just anything can happen. So making a prediction, it's just, I don't know. Anything can happen. So, I mean, I can obviously see the Sharks winning this series. I think they could win this series. If I had to pick one, I'd have to pick the Kings. I said since the Kings started to turn it around about halfway through the year, Milan Lucic started playing better. They right around when they got Vinny LeCavalier, not saying that who's the reason, but right around that time, when they started playing better, I picked the LA Kings as my team, or as the team that I thought would come out of the Western Conference this year in the playoffs. So obviously, I can't have them going out in the first round if I'm really thinking like that. But I think the Sharks could win the series just because you know how badly they want this. And just looking at their team, it's incredible. You know, Joe Thornton is having an amazing season, I wouldn't say career-saving season, but definitely his best season in the last few years. Joe Pavelski's Joe Pavelski. He's a beast. Brent Burns is having a Norris Trophy type season. Marc-Edouard Vlasic's having a great season. They have James Reimer and Martin Jones in the net. I don't know who would be the starter, but either of those guys are capable goaltenders. They've got a great team, and you know they're going to be hungry to win, especially against not the Sharks. They are the Sharks. The Kings, but the Kings, man, they're the Kings. You know, they've won 2 cups in the last, 5 years, 4 years. They've got that experience. You know, Jeff Carter, he always turns it on in the playoffs. They're just such a big team. You know, Dustin Brown, Anze Kopitar, Milan Lucic, Jeff Carter, Drew Doughty. I mean, they've just got such an amazing team. And then Jonathan Quick. I gotta give it to the Kings. I have to. Now, switching over to the Eastern Conference, at the top, the Washington Capitals and the Philadelphia Flyers. And to me, this is the one series out of all of them that is a pretty easy pick. I have the Washington Capitals winning this series in 5 games. It is the only series that I have ending in less than 6 games. And actually, out of all the series, I only have 2 series ending in 6 games. So 5 out of 8 series I have ending in 7 games, which is crazy for the first round. That's insane. But I mean, what more can you say? I mean, the Flyers, obviously, well, not obviously, for those of you guys that didn't hear, the other day, their founder and chairman, Ed Snyder, passed away after a 2-year battle with cancer. So obviously, the Flyers are going to be motivated to come in and play for him and try to win for him. You know, this is going to be their game one is going to be their first game in their entire team history without him. Looking down on him. So, in the press box, or whatever. So it's going to be interesting to see how they come out and play with that motivation behind them. But the Capitals, they're just too good, man. They're too good. I mean, you look at their forwards, TJ Oshie. Coming into Washington, coming onto a new team. Phil Kessel, obviously, he struggled at first. Now, I expected TJ Oshie to struggle with the Capitals. I always figure guys on new teams like that, they're always going to struggle in their first year. But Oshie, he seemed to fit right in, and he's been doing great. Justin Williams is the playoff animal. Obviously the playoff MVP from 2014. You add that guy onto a team that was so close last year. That's scary. Ovechkin seems to have changed so much since 2008, 2009. Back when the Capitals were winning President's trophies and making it to the second round of the playoffs. Playing the Penguins and losing. Stuff like that. He's changed so much, and the team has changed so much. I think Barry Trotz is by far the best coach they've had in that time. Ovechkin, he's so much more just mature now in his play style. It's not all about just him individual success scoring goals. Obviously, he's still all about scoring goals, but I don't know what it is. He just seems more of a leader now, and he just there are not many other players in the league that don't have a cup that deserve it more than Ovechkin, man. The last couple of years, ever since that one season where he was like minus 30 or something like that, and everyone was ripping on him, ever since then he's just kicked it up a notch. Another 50-goal year this year. He's an unbelievable player, and now he has the team to back him up. Evgeny Kuznetsov's been having a breakout season. He's got the defense behind him. He's got Braden Holtby, Vezina Trophy goaltender. Maybe even Hart Trophy winning goaltender behind him. He's got the whole team behind him. I think this is the year the Capitals go all the way. I said I didn't want to predict, future matchups or whatever, but I have the Capitals winning the Stanley Cup this year. I just think they're too good, man. They're just they have an amazing team defense. Those veteran gritty guys like Brooks Orpik, Carl Alsner, John Carlson. You put in a little offense with Matt Niskanen, Dmitry Orlov. And then also forwards, they're gritty guys like Tom Wilson, Jason Chimera, Mike Richards. It sucks that they had to trade away Brooks Laich at the deadline. After all the years Brooks Laich spent with the Capitals, to have him traded in the season, they finally they win the President's Trophy. They could go on to win the Stanley Cup. It would suck if they won it without him, but that's what happens. Yeah, the Flyers, I just think their defense isn't good enough. Gostisbehere, I think he's going to get shut down. Goaltending, Steve Mason seems to play well in pressure situations, but we'll see how he performs this year against Ovechkin and Kuznetsov, Backstrom, all those guys. But yeah, I think the Capitals, just offensively, depth-wise, defensively, goaltending, they've got him beat in every area. Again, I have the Capitals winning the Stanley Cup, so I have them winning this series in 5 games. I think it could go 6. But yeah, definitely the Capitals in this one. Now up next, the New York Rangers and the Pittsburgh Penguins for the second year in a row in the first round. Now, a lot of people are just in school are telling me, oh man, how the Penguins got this. The Rangers have no chance. Wow, you actually think the Rangers have a chance of winning this one? Because for those of you that don't know, I am a New York Rangers fan. I'm gonna try to be as unbiased as possible, but I do have the Rangers winning this series in 7 games. Again, it could go either way. I can see the Penguins winning this series easily, but the things for me, the reasons for me that I have the Rangers winning this is because, first of all, Fleury, it's uncertain if Marc-Andre Fleury is going to start Game 1. If he doesn't, then that's a huge advantage for the Rangers with Jeff Zatkoff in the net, potentially. If the Rangers were able to get a win on the road in Game 1, that would be huge, not having home ice advantage this year, to get that win. But I don't even see them not having Malkin as a setback because Nick Bonino has slotted perfectly in that second line center role. He's been playing great with Phil Kessel and Carl Hagelin. So I wouldn't even say that's that they're really missing him. But the one wild card, the huge wild card, is Sidney Crosby. Now this guy has done nothing in the playoffs the last few years. He's done absolutely nothing. He can have all the great finishes, the regular season that he wants, but this team has proven nothing in the playoffs the last few years. Going back, I don't even remember what happened in 2012. I don't even remember the Penguins, how they performed in 2012 in the playoffs. Or no, yeah, I do. Yeah, they lost in the first round of the Flyers. Yeah, so, and then I'm trying to remember 2011, but I don't remember each series that far back. But 2012, first round exit to the Flyers. 2013, they beat the Islanders and the Senators, and then got swept by the Bruins in the conference final. 2014, they beat, who did they beat in the first round? Did they beat Ottawa again in 2014 in the first round? I don't think so. I don't remember who they beat. But they lost to they had a 3-1 series lead on the Rangers, and then lost 3 straight games to lose the series, and then in 2015, they lose in 5 games. So just because they had a great end of the regular season, that doesn't tell me that they're going to come in and kill them in the playoffs and go all the way to the cup. Carl Hagelin has been amazing. Obviously former Ranger. That's scary to me. But we'll see. Normally, when former Rangers come back to play the Rangers, they're older and they're not as good anymore. So I'm not worried about them, except for Gabrick in 2014. But Hagelin, man, he's been tearing it up. And their defense, it's just, they have Chris Letang, and Letang is an amazing defenseman. He's got to carry that defense, though. Olli Mata, I don't know how long he's supposed to be out. But aside from that, they lost Paul Martin, they've lost Matt Niskanen, they've lost Brooks Orpik over the last couple of years. They don't have that, big, gritty defense, like the Capitals have, or, the other teams like that, or the Predators. I forgot to mention Barrett Jackman as well in the Predators. A playoff experienced defenseman. And then, like I said, up front, they've got good depth. They usually do. But I got to pick the Rangers, man. Zuccarello, he's healthy this year. Brassard, he's been their best player in the playoffs the last 3 years, ever since he came over. Kreider, he always turns it on come playoff time. He's shown that the last few weeks of the regular season. Derek Stepan, he always steps up in the playoffs. Defensively, even though McDonough's out, which is a huge thing, I don't know when he'll be back. They just keep saying he'll be back in the first round, but that could mean Game 3, that could mean Game 7. We don't know yet. I predict around Game 4 or 5, but we'll see. But even when McDonough's out, guys like Kevin Kline, Keith Yandel, Mark Stahl, they can all log 25-plus minutes. Dan Girardi, Dan Boyle, we'll see how he does. Hopefully he can contribute offensively, because defensively in the playoffs, I don't know if you can trust him. Dylan McElrath's had a good season. It's just his positioning is off sometimes. Brady Shea had a few great games to end the season. So we'll see if he plays. I think the lines, it'll probably end up being like Stahl. Probably It'll probably end up being like Stahl. I don't know if it would be Stahl on the first line because he would probably match up with Boyle. So maybe like Yandel, Girardi, Stahl, Klein, Shea, Boyle. I don't know. We'll see. But then Henrik Lundqvist in the net. Hold on, guys. I need to pause this for a second. Alright, sorry about that, guys. I'm back. But Henrik Lundqvist, he's the king, man. He always steps up in the playoffs, big situations. I think defensively the Rangers are better. I think offensively, just with all the guys I mentioned, how they step up in the playoffs. Dominic Moore is a great depth player. Jesper Fast is a very underrated forward. You know, he doesn't score. I don't know how to explain it unless you watch the games, but he makes other players better. He just contributes, and he doesn't make bad plays. He only helps his line mates. Victor Stahlberg's been, better the second half of the season. Kevin Hayes has been great recently. And then veterans, the big wild cards, Eric Stahl and Rick Nash. These two guys, they gotta perform. Eric Stahl, being in the playoffs for the first time in quite a few years. He's going to be pumped, but he's got to score. Or if not score, he's got to contribute. He's got to win faceoffs. He's got to play defensively. He's got to chip the puck in the zone and keep it in deep, set up his teammates. And then Rick Nash, man. So frustrating to watch is Rick Nash. Hopefully this is the year, man. If he does not perform in this year's playoffs, I'm done, man. I'm done. Believe it or not, actually, I'm wearing a Rick Nash t-shirt right now. He's got to perform. If he doesn't, then they should definitely try to trade him this offseason. And if they can't, they probably won't be able to if he doesn't play well. If they can't, then oh man, that sucks. But those are the big wild cards. Those two guys need to perform if the Rangers are going to win this series and go on to try to win their cup. So, we'll see what happens, but I got the Rangers winning in 7 games. Now, up next, the Florida Panthers and the New York Islanders. And I can really, again, go either way on this one, but I have the Islanders winning in 6 games, just because, especially as a Rangers fan, watching the Islanders play, on paper, they don't look that amazing of a team, but they work so hard, and they're such a tough team to play against. Defensively, they just shut you down, and watching the Rangers against the Islanders reminds me of watching the Rangers against the Lightning in Game 7 of the playoffs last year. Somehow they just shut them down, and they just don't allow them to score. And even though they may not get a lot of offensive opportunities, they cash in when they do get those opportunities. And it's so frustrating. But I just think their experience with Florida, their inexperience, their younger guys like Barkov, Bukestad, Huberdeau, the guys who haven't been there before, Aaron Ekblad as well. But at the same time, it's like they are such good young players. And they added Yuri Hoodler, UC Jokinen's there. Jaromir Jagr, he wasn't great in the 2013 playoffs, but that just could be because he was on Boston and he didn't really fit. So we'll see how he plays in Florida in the playoffs. Roberto Luongo is a great goaltender. One of the best in the league this year. So it could go either way. I'm kind of actually changing my own mind right now. It could go 7 games. This is one that it could end in 6. It could end in 7. The Panthers could win. The Islanders could win. It could end any way. But I'm gonna pick kind of a weird, ending. I'm gonna say the Islanders in 6. I'm just gonna go for it. Why not? But the last one, Tampa Bay Lightning against the Detroit Red Wings in Pavel Datsyuk's last season, his last playoff run with the Red Wings. I think they could go deep. I have the Red Wings winning this series in 7 games. Unless Tyler Johnson can come back at some point in the series, I don't see how the Lightning are going to be able to win this one. They've been dealing with injuries all year. They don't have Steven Stamkos. They don't have Tyler Johnson. So there go your top 2 centers. Anton Strawman's been injured this season. Ryan Callahan, Victor Hedman. These guys have all suffered injuries that I think they should all be back for game 1, but maybe they're not. I don't know, but just missing your top 2 centers, that just drags it down. And also I forgot to mention the last series, the Islanders Panthers. We saw what the Islanders did last year against the Capitals, almost beating them. So I think the Islanders, John Tavares is an amazing captain, playoff player. So throw that in there. But for this series, I just think in Datsuk's last year, with the Lightning's top 2 centers out, I think the Red Wings are going to be able to take this. With Dylan Larkin, Zetterberg, Nyquist, Tatar, Brad Richards, you got the veterans in there. They're depth guys like Glendening and Helm and Athanasiou. And you look at their defense now with Mike Green, Nicholas Kronwall, who's not suspended right now. We'll see if he gets suspended at any point in this series. And then in the net, Jimmy Howard has been on fire recently. And then if he falters, they have Peter Mrazek to step in and take over. We'll see. We saw how amazing Mrazek was last year for them. That amazing save that he had in one of the games against the Lightning last year. But yeah, and the rematch from last season, I think the Red Wings have it this time. If Stamkos and Johnson were healthy, I would no doubt take the Lightning. But with those 2 guys out, I don't see how they're going to win this. So, got to go with Detroit. So, those are my predictions. I'll just quickly go through each one. Again, I have Dallas beating Minnesota, Chicago beating St. Louis, Nashville beating Anaheim, the Kings beating the Sharks, the Capitals beating the Flyers, the Rangers beating the Penguins, the Islanders beating the Panthers, and the Red Wings beating the Lightning. So those are my predictions. Let me know your guys' predictions in the comments below. Let me know why not? Let me know who you think is going to win the Stanley Cup this year. I think it's going to be the Washington Capitals. We'll see. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.